Hi everyone, it's Susan Jones and welcome back to my Sunday Spotlight. In case you're new here, I am a former first grade and K-2 literacy teacher who now spends a lot of time here on YouTube sharing tips, ideas, and strategies with kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers like you. My hope is that with every video, you can take at least something and kind of store it in your teacher toolbox to use in your classroom right away. Now, my husband is currently painting my kitchen island. I'll show you that in a second, which is why I'm in the living room right now. But I wanted to let you know that for today's video, we are going to talk about opinion writing. Now, I have an entire writing playlist. I'll put that right here. And in this playlist, I'll add this video to it. I basically share a bunch of tips and activities that you can take and use with your youngest writers. I've said this before, but honestly, I think teaching writing to kindergarten, first, and second grade students is the hardest subject to teach just because of all of the developmental processes that go into, getting an idea from your head and physically writing it down on paper for those youngest learners. I mean, half of them are still learning how to read, still learning how to hold a pencil properly. It's a lot. So today for opinion writing, I want to share a mentor text, at least one of them, and then I have a couple activities that I love to use when teaching opinion writing. So let me head over to my office to get that ready for you. While I'm on my way over there, make sure you like this video and go ahead and subscribe to my channel. So when it comes to opinion writing, I like to share that I actually teach opinion writing 3 different times throughout the year. So at the very beginning of the year, maybe October, November-ish, I like to teach what an opinion is, and we talk about the difference between a fact and an opinion, and I teach them that they need, reasons to support their opinions, and we kind of just practice just that. We write a little opinion booklet where they share an opinion, provide some reasons, and I even give them a little intro into adding a catchy opening to their opinion. Now, right after that, we kind of go into writing a persuasive letter, and that unit only takes about a week, but since we already know what our opinions are, I like to then have them try to persuade others using their reasons. It's like another little level to that. And then later in the year, we also write reviews for local restaurants, parks, libraries, anything that's local to our area. We go ahead and write a review about it where, again, we're sharing our opinion and providing reasons, but just in a different way. So if you ever want to know any tips on my writing reviews unit or some persuasive writing tips, drop that down in the comments down below. I can do a video for that as well. But today I want to share 3 little tips on how I teach students at the beginning of the year about opinion writing. So let's go. Okay, on day number 1, when we are teaching opinion writing, I like to just introduce what an opinion is, and we talk about the differences between a fact and an opinion. Opinion is something you cannot prove, it's a personal belief, and we just kind of share some of the opinions that we have throughout the day. I like to tell my students that, throughout the day, you're gonna have many different opinions. You might wake up and you might look outside and say, oh, what a yucky day. It's cold, it's dreary, or maybe I'm too cold, or maybe you take a sip of your coffee and you think it's too hot. You thinking something is too hot is an opinion. The fact is that it's hot, but the opinion is that this is too hot for you to enjoy right now, when someone else might like their coffee that hot. You never know. Anyway, we kind of walk through all the simple little opinions that you have throughout the day. Very quickly on day 2, we start talking about providing reasons for your opinions. And we do this because it helps the listener and the reader understand your opinion a little bit more. And there are 2 mentor texts that I like to use when I am teaching this skill right here. So Red is Best, I'll throw that up right here, that is one. And the second one I like to use is called The Perfect Pet. This is by Margie Palatini, The Perfect Pet. And I love this book because it is about a little girl named Elizabeth who really wants a pet, and she's kind of convincing her parents that which pet will be perfect for her. And to do that, every single page she kind of chooses an animal and talks about why it would be a good pet. She provides her reasoning for that, right? Let me see. Here's a horse. She says, I could ride it, give it carrots, lumps of sugar. A horse would be a perfect pet. So those are her reasons for thinking a horse is a great pet. But then we talk about how the mother and the father for every pet, they have their own reasons about why maybe a horse is not a perfect pet. For instance, the father says a horse is too big. The mother says our yard is too small. And they talk about how the horse is going to eat them out of house and home. It's just going to eat way too much. It's not the perfect pet. So on each page, you can kind of walk through the animals, and students can easily identify the different reasons that both Elizabeth gives and the mother and the father. And again, that just helps you kind of understand where they're coming from a little bit better. On day 2 of the opinion writing unit, I like to, after we read one of these mentor texts, I like to have students go back to their work that they did yesterday, where if you were, in my class, then we talked about fact versus opinion, and I just had them jot down a few opinions that they have. And today, after we read this, they would go ahead and try to think of at least one reason for some of those opinions that they shared, and they would try to write those down as well. Once students are introduced to sharing their reasons for their opinion, this is when I like to do 2 fun activities where students can kind of pick sides and provide reasons in a fun way. So first and foremost, we have a lesson called Choose and Explain. That's what I call it on the teacher side. But for the kids, it's called Would You Rather. Now, I've talked about Would You Rather questions many times. I love using them in morning meeting. I love using them to just get kids talking. But during an opinion writing unit is when I love them the most, because they're doing exactly what you're teaching them. So I have a bunch of Would You Rather slides. They look like this. They are over on TPT. And actually, if you go to this unit, you can download, I think there's 10 of them that I actually offer completely for free that you can just download. And what I will do is I will either put them on the smartboard, or students can get little cards, however you decide you want to pass them out. Students will basically take turns talking with one another and sharing would you rather, whatever the question says. So they'll read the question and they have to give a reason for their opinion. For whatever side they chose, they must provide some sort of reasoning to help explain it. And then at the end, I like to pick 1 or 2 where I notice a lot of students have differing answers, and I like to have them actually physically separate. Of course, this was before, COVID time, so I'd have them group together on sides of the room, but you could easily do this too by just having them, if you would rather be a genie, put your hands like this, and if you would rather be a wizard, those are kind of similar, maybe a ninja. If you'd rather be a ninja instead of a genie, you can put your hands like this. Whatever it is. Have them show how, wow, we have the same question and we all have different opinions, we all have different reasons, and then have them share some of those reasons. Now, you could easily have students just choose one of those would you rather questions and answer it to have them writing that day. Every day in writing workshop, regardless of what the main skill is, even if we're practicing a ton of it verbally, we're also writing that day. So you could just have them choose one of those prompts and write it down in their journal or on paper, however you want to do it. But there is another kind of activity that I absolutely love, and I've shared this over on my Instagram. Here's a screenshot of it here. I actually think I've shared it a couple times, but I want to show you with a quick screen share an activity that I love to do with them. It is from Storyworks Junior, and this is what it looks like. When you go to storyworks.com, I'll go ahead and link this in the description of my video. But when you go to Storyworks, it looks like this. There actually used to have Storyworks Junior. It looks like they have rebranded, and now the original Storyworks is for grades 4 through 6, but they also have the Storyworks 2 and Storyworks 3, I guess they call it. But I will link you to the regular Storyworks website, and you'll go here to debate. When you go over to debate, these are just some really fun kid-friendly questions. So should kids be allowed to vote? Do some say being polite is becoming a thing of the past? Should we care? So I'm guessing that one talks about being polite. Should you handwrite thank you notes? Should we get rid of daylight savings time? Should you have to invite everybody to your birthday party? Would you take a trip to space? Should recess be longer? Should you go screen-free for a week? Things like that. So lots of great ones to choose from. If you have a Storyworks subscription, all of these will be free for you, but they always give one for free. So let me click on one and show you So if it says the subscriber only resources, that means that you can't get that one for free. But you really only need one. So go ahead and click on ones that you think are interesting. So I wouldn't show these to the kids first, just in case they, right here, just in case they don't, in case they get excited about one, but it's not free. So when it flips over like this one just did, you can actually go ahead and take a look at it. So would you take a trip to space? Let's look at the story. You can actually click any of those. You can download the whole lesson plan, and it's just a really fun way for the kids to go ahead and see this and talk about both sides of the debate, both sides of taking a trip to space. So here are all the words, but what I like to do is I go to presentation view and I press read the debate. It's right over here, and it pops up like this. Here we go. You can even print this out if you wanted to, but if you're doing this with kindergarten, first, and second grade students, your second graders could probably, print this out and read it and complete it themselves. But I do this together. I read it out loud to my first grade students, and then we talk about both sides and the reasons. So it says, would you take a trip to space? And then basically what it does is it gives you a little introduction about going to space. And then here there's a subheading that says the trip of a lifetime. Space travel would be an out of this world opportunity. And it basically has, a wonderful, all these reasons for why it would be so wonderful and so great. And it even says up here, hundreds of people have already reserved spots on future trips like Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber. Just these reasons to convince you that yes, going to space would be so cool. And then the next part, and it's only this one page, so it's pretty short, gives you reasons why it's just not worth it. It's really expensive. It can be dangerous. You'd have to travel in a really small cabin. And I just love the way these short little debates share both sides. And first of all, we go ahead and identify both sides that are given in the debate. And then we go ahead and give some of the reasons that they listed. So I've done this one in the past before. And I also, one of them, I can't find it here right now, but I did one a few years ago when I was with my second graders about if chocolate milk should be allowed to be served in the cafeteria. And that was a really fun one. We had some strong opinions about it. So I'll link this down below, but find a debate that you like. And again, read it with your class and try to identify both sides as well as some reasons for both of those opinions. So there you have a few of my favorite activities and mentor texts that I like to use when introducing opinion writing to my kindergarten, first, and second grade students. Now, if you're in my writing club, you already know that I don't tend to just have students write, pick one of those would you rather questions, write their opinion, and provide reasoning for it. Instead, in the writing workshop units that I like to provide, we go ahead and we will write and publish a little opinion booklet. Now, the lessons I shared in this video today are what we would do maybe days 1 through 4. So that way students have a really good grasp and understanding of what an opinion is and how they can go ahead and provide reasoning to support their opinions. They can also recognize that humans have all sorts of different opinions and that there's not an opinion that's really right or wrong, especially if we can provide explanation and reasoning for it. So then what my students will do, it helps make the writing process even faster and more efficient as we actually create our booklet. So then our students will brainstorm and they'll choose just one opinion that they want to share. And on page 1, it will be where they go ahead and express their opinion. And on that day's lesson, I also like to teach them about adding a catchy opening and how they can go ahead and use an anchor chart like this one right here to maybe ask a question at the beginning or experiment with just stating their opinion or using an exclamatory remark or, again, asking a question. So they go ahead and share their opinion that way. And then on the following 2 pages, I have them kind of spread out one reason and another reason that they have to support their opinion that they're sharing. And they can illustrate on each one. So each of the pages will actually have a little illustration box. So again, we're just taking that opinion and we're stretching it. And then they go ahead and add a conclusion page where they restate that opinion. Now again, this is the first time they are writing opinion booklets, so if we only get as far as stating the opinion, sharing 2 reasons, and writing a conclusion, that's still great. But I do like to try to teach, adding some linking words and making those, the reasons especially, I like to really stretch them out and make them a little bit longer, a little bit more detailed, and give some more reasoning to their opinions. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Any questions you have, drop them down in the comments. If you want me to expand a little bit more, make some more videos like this, let me know. While you're here, be sure you have liked this video so I know that it's something you're interested in, and subscribe to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new week's video. See you next Sunday. Bye.